Watch this. I fill out a form, and 3 seconds later, I already have an email in my inbox, a row logged in my spreadsheet, and a message sent without me touching anything else. No one clicked send. No one ran a script. Something on the internet just reacted. That's a webhook. And in the next 12 minutes, you're gonna build exactly this.
Hey, welcome back to First Step AI. I'm Talia, and today we're going deep on one specific piece of n8n that trips up almost every beginner: webhooks. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what a webhook is, the difference between the test URL and production URL, which is the #1 thing that breaks people's workflows, and you'll have built a real, working webhook-triggered automation yourself. Let's get into it.
So what actually happened in that opening clip? Think of a webhook like a doorbell on your house. Normally, if you want to know what's happening outside, you'd have to keep walking to the window and checking, over and over, all day. That's exhausting.
And it's actually how a lot of automation used to work. Constantly checking, has anything happened yet? Has anything happened yet? That's called polling.
Doorbell flips that completely. You don't check anything. You just wait. And the moment someone presses it, bam, you're notified instantly. And you can react. A webhook is the doorbell for your n8n workflow. Instead of your workflow constantly asking, did a new form get submitted yet? Did a new order come in yet? It just sits there, silent, until something out on the internet sends it a signal. The second that signal, that knock, arrives, the workflow instantly wakes up and runs. That knock could be anything. Someone submitting a form on your website, another app like Stripe or Typeform sending you data, or like we'll do today, a tool like Postman sending a test request. The webhook doesn't care where the knock comes from. It just cares that one arrived.
Now here's the part that trips up almost everyone starting out, so pay close attention. When you add a webhook node in n8n, it gives you 2 different URLs, a test URL and a production URL. They are not interchangeable, and using the wrong one is probably the single most common reason a beginner's webhook isn't working. The test URL only works while you have this workflow open in the editor and you've clicked Listen for Test Event. It's meant for exactly what it sounds like, testing while you're building. The moment you close this tab or the listening window times out, that test URL goes dead. If you send a request to it after that, nothing happens. And you'll sit there wondering why your automation is broken. It's not broken. You're just using a URL that expired. The production URL is the one that's always live, 24/7, as long as your workflow is activated. That toggle up in the top right. This is the URL you actually give to your website form, or paste into Stripe, or hand to any real external service. This is the doorbell that's permanently wired into the wall, not the one you're holding up to test the chime. Let's actually trigger this thing 2 different ways so you can see it work regardless of your use case.
First, Postman. Postman is basically a tool for manually sending requests to any URL, which makes it perfect for testing webhooks before you connect them to anything real. I'll paste in our test URL, set the request type to post, and send over a small bit of data, just a name and an email, nothing fancy. I hit send, and look at n8n. The workflow instantly executed, and if I open up the webhook node's output, there's our data, the name and email, sitting right there, ready to be used in the rest of the workflow. Second, a real form. This is closer to what you'll actually use in production. I've got a basic contact form here, and its submit action points straight at our webhook URL. I fill it in like a real visitor would, hit submit, and same result. n8n wakes up instantly and grabs the submitted data. Notice something important here. I didn't change anything inside n8n between these 2 demos. The webhook doesn't care if the knock came from Postman, a website form, or literally any other app on the internet that can send an HTTP request. That's what makes webhooks so powerful. They're a universal front door that almost every modern tool knows how to knock on.
There's one more piece most tutorials skip, and it's the reason your webhook might feel stuck: the Respond to Webhook node.
Here's the thing. Whoever knocked on your door, Postman, a form, another app, is usually just sitting there, waiting to hear back. If you never respond, they'll often just time out and assume something went wrong, even if your workflow actually ran perfectly fine in the background. The Respond to Webhook node is you answering the door. I'll drop this in at the end of the workflow and set it to send back a simple confirmation, just a status message saying received. Now, when I trigger this from Postman again, watch the response panel. There it is, instantly. Status received. That's n8n saying, got it. Thanks. Back to whoever sent the original request.
Quick but important detail. If your webhook node's respond setting is set to immediately, it'll send a generic response the second it receives data, before the rest of your workflow even finishes. If you want to send back real information, like, here's the record we created, you need to set that response setting to using Respond to Webhook node, like I've done here, so it waits for the whole workflow to finish first. Okay, let's put all of this together into one complete real workflow, the same one you saw fire in the very first seconds of this video.
Step 1, Webhook node, set to receive post requests, production URL active. Step 2, I connect that straight into a send email node. Whatever name and email came through the webhook, I'm mapping those fields directly into the email body. So this becomes a real someone just submitted a form, notify me automation. Step 3, right alongside that, I branch off into a Google Sheets node, appending a new row with the same data. So now I've got a permanent log of every submission, timestamped automatically. Step 4, both of those branches feed into our Respond to Webhook node from the last section, sending back a clean confirmation once everything's actually done. That's it. 4 nodes, 1 webhook, and now every single time someone fills out that form, anywhere, at any hour, without you touching a thing, you get emailed, it gets logged, and the sender gets confirmation. Let's test the whole thing end to end.
By going to Postman and pasting the production URL of the webhook, we will check whether this workflow works or not, whether we will get the response back or not. In Postman, I will select the post option. Then I will paste the webhook URL, the production URL, in Postman, and fill in the information that I need to put in the sheet. After that, I will hit run and check whether I receive my result or not.
And that's Webhooks, the doorbell that connects the outside world to everything you build in n8n. You now know what one is, why the test and production URLs behave completely differently, how to trigger a webhook from basically any tool, and why the Respond node matters way more than people think. If you want to go further, I've got a full advanced build in my last video where we use this exact same webhook pattern to trigger a multi-agent AI system. So make sure you're subscribed for that one. And if this helped, drop a comment with what you're planning to trigger with your first webhook. I read every one. See you in the next video.